The following story will be in two parts, entitled I Sold My RV to Give the Money to a Romance Scammer. My name is Kathy, and I live in Nevada. This started in 2023, June actually. I started looking for love online, which was my first mistake. I ended up on FB dating and started to message with a man calling himself Mitchell, or Mitch for short. We connected through the site and then started to email each other at first. He told me he was 59 years old and a widow. His wife had died from pancreatic cancer, which came on suddenly, and she passed away a few months after her diagnosis. He had taken care of his wife before her passing, and he had went on a leave from his job to care for her, which I found to be very noble of his character. Mitch told me that he was a pipeline oceanic engineer, and that he worked at sea prior to his leave from work, installing fiber optic cables under the ocean floor. That he was in charge of the construction projects and contracted by some major companies to do this type of work. When his wife got sick, though, he left his job. But a year after her death, he found himself back working again. This time in charge of a large underwater installation of fiber optic cables for a big internet company, which was going to bring high speed internet to Indonesia. When I met him, he was working in Indonesia, and he would go out to sea for weeks at a time to help with the planning and layout of the construction of these cables. In fact, one of the first photos he ever emailed me was of him in a diver's suit. He said he was taking a look at one of the build sites to install the cables. He told me that he lives in California, though, when he's not working abroad, that he has a home in Los Angeles. I joked with him at the time that you couldn't pay me to live in the city of LA, and he said no, his home is in the countryside, which I found strange at first, and I even questioned him on this. Well, he replied to me and stated that he did not live in Los Angeles, but in the hills of Malibu. Well, this made a little bit more sense, but still. Mitch stated that he grew up in Iceland, and his last name on his email address was an Icelandic name, so I had no reason to doubt him in that sense. Although I thought Mitch was maybe a nickname because, looking back, that's not an Icelandic first name for a male. He said his father was a fisherman, and his mother taught him, and he was homeschooled until the age of 15, and then he went to high school, and then both of his parents died in a plane crash when he was 18. He said the day after he graduated high school, his father and mother were taking a plane to an isolated fishing village, and the plane crashed, tragically killing both of them. He then was left alone, and he had been accepted to attend the prestigious UK Oxford University at college. It was a fully paid scholarship, so he left the family home and went, broken-hearted, he said, but he would carry on his parents' wishes to get a higher education. He stated when he got to college, his uncle, without him knowing, came to the family home and sold the home and the land without him knowing anything. He had stolen his parents' money and ended up getting millions in money from this evil deed uncle who took everything from him. Mitch was helpless and scared. He lost all that money to his uncle. He said the betrayal of his uncle pushed him to finish his education and make something good of his life. During college, he met his wife, who was 4 years older than him. Her parents had a construction company, and upon getting married and after college, he started working for his wife's parents' company as a building engineer. Then, he moved on to underwater fiber optic engineering and construction, which brought him and his wife, who was now pregnant, to Los Angeles. His daughter is named Matilda, and she was born shortly after their arrival to the States. Fast forward to the present time, his daughter is married and lives in New York. She's a teacher of the fine arts, and he doesn't see his daughter as much as he would like due to his work, and after his wife, his daughter's mother's death, it drove them apart. Now, Mitch dedicates his life to his work, but he said he found himself lonely and went online to try to meet someone. And this is where I came into his life. I'm 57 years young, and I've been divorced now going on 16 years by this time. My husband was a serial cheater, and I have no regrets in divorcing him. We never had any kids. And now, I live in a busy place. I live in the town of Henderson, Nevada, and if you've never been, it's near Las Vegas. So I would date in person, and I have, but the quality of guys I met locally, they're not so great. Or maybe I just didn't meet up with the right one. At any rate, I joined FB Dating, and this is where things all started. So we exchanged emails back and forth, mostly telling about our lives, little anecdotes. He was very detailed about his work and how he worked on a contract, and he was going to be in Indonesia for several more months before returning to the States. After a few email introductions, we proceeded to exchange phone numbers and started calling each other on WhatsApp. His number, though, was a San Diego area code. The first time we spoke, I found his accent to be interesting and honestly sexy. I'd never spoken to someone from Iceland before, and it was just so different. We spoke on the phone for about an hour. He told me about how he wanted to find love in his soulmate. I asked him if he's ever been to Las Vegas before, and he said no, but he would always want to come and visit and meet me. He said when he returned from his contract in Indonesia, he would like for us to meet. Well, I suggested we meet in Las Vegas since I live so close, and maybe we can have dinner and a couple of drinks. The phone calls, though, they became a nightly thing. Like clockwork, he would call me at 8 p.m. my time every single night. He said that he couldn't stand not being able to talk to me, so I made sure I was there when he called. He expressed how stressful his job was and how the company he is contracted with was terrible, that he had numerous issues with the owner, and he would be glad when his contract is over. The one thing I will say about Mitch is that he's always listened to me. Even when I was having issues with my own job or personal health issues, he was there to listen and be there for me. I think that's what drew me in so close to him. He was there when many others in my past were not, and that's what made it such a dangerous situation. The weeks went on, and Mitch asked me if I'd like to dedicate my heart to this relationship fully. He said since his wife died, he was unable to make a connection with anyone, and he found me and found that connection in me. He said I was so special and that I was giving him the world when we talked. We decided together that we would make it official and be in a relationship together. We had friended each other on FB a while back, and he was now announcing on his FB page, as I did on mine, that we were in a relationship. We tagged each other to each other's post. Mitch started sending friend requests to my family, coworkers, and people I'd mentioned to him in our phone conversations. At the time, I thought he was listening, and that's rare for me to have a partner to listen. But little did I know he was actually taking notes on my life. I told friends and family he's okay to accept as a friend, and that we're dating and we may possibly have a future together, maybe marriage, who knows? So my friends started accepting his friend requests, and his coworkers and family as well. Mitch started having issues, though, about 3 months into our serious relationship. He was supposed to come back to the States in a few weeks, but the owner of the company he was contracted with had some issues. He said the work was unsatisfactory, and the owner of the company wanted different cables installed, so they had to basically backtrack their work, and it would delay him coming home. Mitch said he didn't know what to do as he was being sent out to sea again in the morning, and it was now 2 a.m. when he called me to tell me this news. He woke me up in a frantic panic over all this and was speaking so fast, and I told him to calm down and speak slow and clear. He said he'd be at sea for at least 4 more weeks, that his bank card and credit cards had a travel alert for usage that were set to expire, and he expected to be home by now, but the bank and credit companies blocked his cards from further use due to him not extending his travel advisory. He said he couldn't call his bank in the US because it's the middle of the night. Their customer service is closed. Mitch was in a real panic and he asked me if I could get him $200 worth of Apple gift cards so that he can use the cards to load money onto his iPhone so he could use it to load minutes with a special international calling app through the cards in his iPhone. He told me he would give me $400 back when we meet. Well, at first my heart dropped thinking, how terrible to be stuck like that. At first, though, I told him that maybe his boss can front him some petty cash and something like that, and Mitch became upset, saying that his boss is causing this headache with the contract, and he really needs to be able to make calls and upload data onto his phone. Mitch started to mention that he's got business documents he needs to upload too, and they take a lot of data. And while at sea, he was begging for my help. I caved, and I told him I would help him. The distraught sound in his voice really upset me, and by this time I'd been falling in love with this man, and we had talked so much about a future. He was starting to cry. His voice was cracking on the phone as he told me that if he doesn't get the cards, that he won't be able to talk to me either. And really, the thought of not being able to talk to him and him talk to me and have this relationship, it was breaking my heart. I went and bought the cards. They're cards I've never purchased before, but I found them at my corner gas station mini mart. I got him two $100 cards and gave him the information off the back of them, and he instructed me how to do so. Mitch said I had saved him so much and he loves me so much that he can't wait to visit me and hopes I will spend my life with him. He told me that he was going to propose when he met me. He had his grandmother's ring that he was holding on to for that special woman. Not even his first wife had that ring, and I was shocked. I was on cloud nine and actually wasn't even seeing the red flags at this point. I was blinded by love. Mitch left in the morning for his work. He said he would call me that night, and he did in fact call and told me the cables and project are a mess, and he made the bold decision to finish this job and then retire and be done with it forever. He said he thought long and hard about all the stress of the day, and he said I brought peace to his heart, and his heart belonged with me, and he wanted me to sell my home, and he was going to sell his home in Los Angeles and then move to Nevada with me, and talked about getting a bigger house for both of us together. I told him I love my home. It's paid for. I told him it has a big backyard and I've been here forever. I even have a pool. I told him we can even take my RV out on trips together. It's in a storage building behind my property. Well, this is when Mitch asked me if the swimming pool was mine or just a community pool. I told him no, I have my own private pool in my own backyard, as most people here do because it's so hot. It's the Vegas area. He then asked me what the RV is. I thought maybe he meant what brand of RV, so I told him the make and model. And after some silence, he came back and asked me if we can spend our lives together. And I told him I would like that very much. Stay tuned for part two of this series. It's a little bit longer on part two, but on this series and on this story, I want you to listen for the red flags because unfortunately, this lady didn't see the red flags because the scammer just showered her with love and affection and attention, as I normally do. Again, stay tuned for part two. Take care.